So OpenAI has a fairly new imaging model, and I wanted to take a little bit of time to go through some of the prompting fundamentals that the OpenAI engineers have laid out in one of their prompting guides. Mainly because a lot of questions that we get about images is something along the lines of, we aren't getting the images that we want and we don't know why. And I think in a lot of those cases, it's because you're not following one or more of just the prompting fundamentals that they've kind of laid out in this document. So this is just it says here, GPT Image Generation Models Prompting Guide by some OpenAI engineers a couple weeks ago. And if I go to section 2, it's the prompting fundamentals section. There's a decent amount here, so I'm not going to go through all of this. But I think that if you generate images, or you want to generate images, it's probably worth considering a lot of these in here, because they're like, images can be pretty complicated actually. And, sometimes the prompts that are used, they're just too, I don't want to call them simplistic, but they leave a lot of room for the models to guess what you want. And that will just usually end up in you not getting what you want, because it'll quote unquote hallucinate, because the models will have too many options. Anyway, I'll just start going through some of this. The first section here is structure and goal, and this is write prompts in a consistent order. So the example they have here is background/scene, then subject, then key details, and then constraints, and then include the intended use. So for example, an ad, a UI mock, infographic, etc. And then that sets the mode and the level of polish. And then for complex requests, use short labeled segments or line breaks instead of one long paragraph. And then you have prompt format here, and this is use the format that is easiest to maintain. Blah, blah, blah. For production systems, prioritize a skimmable template over a clever prompt. Okay, specificity and quality cues, be concrete about materials, shapes, textures, and the visual medium. So like photo, watercolor, 3D render, and add targeted quality levers only when needed. So something like film grain, textured brushstrokes, macro detail. For photorealism, which is really common, include the word photorealistic directly in the prompt to strongly engage the model's photorealistic mode. Similar phrases like real photograph, or taken on a real camera, or professional photography, or iPhone photo can also help, but detailed camera specs may be interpreted loosely, etc. The latency versus fidelity, that's really more if you're doing like API calls. So if you're just doing this in ChatGPT, this section doesn't really matter, so I will skip it. Composition, this one's pretty big. Specify framing and viewpoint. So like close up, wide, top down, and then like your perspective or angle. So like eye level, low angle, and then also your lighting. So like soft diffuse, golden hour, high contrast, etc. If the layout matters, call out the placement. So in this example, like logo in the top right, subject centered with negative space on the left. For wide, cinematic, low light, rain, or neon scenes, add extra detail about scale, atmosphere, and color so the model doesn't trade mood for surface realism. People pose in action. For people and scenes, describe the scale, body framing, gaze, and object interaction. So for example, full body visible, feet included, or child size relative to the table, or looking down at the open book, not the camera, or hands naturally gripping the handlebars. These details help with body proportion, action geometry, and gaze alignment. I mean, you can see already, there's a lot to consider. If you're just like, hey, give me a picture of a person at a table, there's so much that the model has to think about. And it's like, well, what angle is the camera at? And what does the lighting look like? And what size is the person? What size is the table? There's so many things that it's likely that you're not including in your prompts. We'll keep going here. So now constraints here, what to change versus what to preserve. State exclusions and invariants explicitly. So something like no watermark, no extra text, no logos, trademarks, preserve identity, geometry, layout, brand elements. If you're editing something, you can just say like change only this thing and then like keep everything else the same, etc. For text and images, put literal text in quotes or all caps. And then specify the typography detail. So if you want a specific font size, font style, font color, font placement. And then for tricky words, which they have in here, like brand names and uncommon spellings, spell them out letter by letter to improve the character accuracy. The quality levels are, again, more for API calls. For multi-image input, so reference each input by index and description. So if you are basically adding like multiple images to your prompts, you can call them out. You can say like image 1, or if you have the images, the different files named, you can call it out by the name specifically and then say what it is and let's say what you want to do with it. And then iterate instead of overloading. So it says long prompts can work well, but debugging is easier when you start with a clean base prompt and then refine with small single change follow-ups. So for example, make the lighting warmer, or remove the extra tree, or restore the original background. Use references like same style as before, or the subject, to leverage context, but re-specify critical details if the model starts to drift. Again, that's a lot. I get that, but images, there's a lot to images. So it's like, if that seems like a ton of stuff, then it probably means you haven't considered a lot of the details that can go into photos. And honestly, this is like half of what you could have in there. But they have some examples in here that I want to go through just to give you, like, again, if that's just kind of like a wall of instructions and that might not really be useful. Again, this is documentation for actually coding something. So if you're using just like ChatGPT, if you usually just use this interface, you can basically just take what's under the prompts here and like you would take this piece that's highlighted here and you would just put that in your prompt here. But I do want to go over a couple of these just to show you the kinds of prompts that follow the instructions that they laid out up there. So now this is for an infographic, and the prompt is here, and it's create a detailed infographic of the functioning and flow of an automatic coffee machine like a Jura, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, not a coffee drinker. Anyway, from bean basket to grinding to scale, water tank, boiler, etc. I'd like to understand technically and visually the flow. Again, the rest of this code you don't have to really care about, but then here is the actual output of that. And it's hard to kind of fit this whole thing in the screen, so I'll just kind of scroll through it. So now the next section here, it's basically taking that infographic and then doing an edit and kind of following the instructions above, translate the text in the infographic to Spanish. Do not change any other aspect of the image. Again, ignore the rest of this, and then here's the output. So I think that's a really good example because a lot of times people will have an image and they'll just want like one edit and they'll put whatever the thing is. So like in this case, change it to Spanish, but then they'll leave out the other part of this. Like do not change any other aspect of the image. And then something else randomly will be changed. And like this part is actually really important for the models because again, if you don't put that, it's going to guess. And it's like, hey, if you want me to change this to Spanish, but maybe you didn't like this, so let me change that because you might not have liked that. So, I mean, it doesn't seem like a huge thing, but it can really help just kind of steer the model. Let's keep going and do a couple more of these. This is a photorealistic image prompt. And again, I know a lot of people do just like photorealistic images. So I think this one is kind of a longer prompt, but it's not that bad. Create a photorealistic, candid photograph of an elderly sailor standing on a small fishing boat. He has weathered skin with visible wrinkles, pores, and sun texture, and a few faded traditional sailor tattoos on his arms. He's calmly adjusting a net while his dog sits nearby on the deck. Shot like a 35mm film photograph, medium close-up at eye level using a 50mm lens, soft coastal daylight, shallow depth of field, subtle film grain, natural color balance. The image should feel honest and unposed with real skin texture, worn materials, and everyday detail. No glamorization, no heavy retouching. Now, if you do any kind of photorealistic prompts and you don't have some of those details in there, again, this might be why you don't really get the output that you want. There's a lot in there, I get that. But again, the model has to consider all of those things. So if you don't specify the things that are in there, the model is going to guess, and your likelihood of getting a hallucination is higher. Anyway, let me scroll down and just show you the image that came from that. Okay, so we'll move on, and this is a much shorter prompt, and this is create a realistic outdoor crowd scene in Bethel, New York on August 16th, 1969. Photorealistic, period accurate clothing, staging, and environment. And here's the output. So again, we will link this documentation in the description if you want to go through it. There are other examples in here. Again, I think that's plenty, again, with the prompting fundamentals and the examples I went through there. Like those just have varying degrees of following the fundamentals. So it's like you don't necessarily have to do everything, every one of these fundamentals in every single prompt. These are just things to consider. And I think in a lot of cases, if you prompt it however you choose to prompt it, and then you don't get what you want, then you come back to this list, and it's just like, well, wait a minute. I didn't really specify the composition that I wanted, so that's why I did it that way, right? There's people, and I didn't say how I wanted them to be posed, or whatever it is. But it's like, I get there's a lot of stuff here, but there's a lot that can be considered for images. So hopefully that helps a little bit to just get you to have better image prompts, more consistent output, and then things that are just more usable for whatever your use case is. So if you have any questions about that, ask away and we'll do our best to answer them, and we will see you next time.